the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
There are bloodlines that the Luciferian elite want to protect, and there are bloodlines that they want to destroy. The divine right to rule has been passed down through millennia, a seed line that winds its way to the modern monarchs, royal families, prime ministers, popes, and presidents.
And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. They called his name Esau.
The vast majority of these people,
the descendants, the bloodline descendants of these beings, rule the world today.
Are not only related,
the enmity between the seed lines,
but have Rh negative blood.
Maintain humanity under 500 million.
Take the high-tech companies of the modern world. Okay, but why have these monolithic corporations that involve themselves purely in high science and technology using symbols from the scriptures, symbols from the ancient world, like the forbidden fruit?
Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it.
the divine right to rule.
Then Jesus said, He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Something about genetics that is connected to the forbidden fruit. There's some hidden knowledge. Michelangelo, like many of the artists, is showing here the androgynous serpent to be a liberating factor. Eve is in a recumbent or supine or submissive position. And the serpent and the tree is attempting to awaken Eve.
Many have concluded that Freemasonry's own description of itself is the best.
Albert Pike.
A peculiar system of morality, veiled in allegory,
Adam Weishaupt.
and illustrated by scenes. Today, we celebrate Freemasonry, its past, present, and future.
Manly P. Hall.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul.
Native peoples were not the first to inhabit North America.
So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen.
Let us make man in our image, after our likeness.
And Rh negative blood is one of the most unusual blood types.
Then the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
The demon was huge, and it came to me, and it was trying to have sex with me.
And the divine right to rule.
We therefore invite Mr. Sayer, Master of the Apple Tree Tavern, to take the chair as our first Grand Master.
And the divine right to rule.
And the divine right to rule. And the divine right to rule.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth.
Alexander the Great, his mother, she worshipped in a temple where they revered serpents.
Who knew? You and Dick Cheney cousins?
You know, listen, I don't think I'm going to the family reunion. I don't know how I'll be greeted. But no, you know, these folks have been doing all these genealogies on me, and you know, they've found all sorts of strange connections.
This has got to be this. What did you make of that story? For those who don't know this, so Lynn Cheney, the vice president's wife, has been doing some genealogy connected to her latest book, and lo and behold, way back, 8 generations ago,
8 generations or
you
something.
and Mr. Cheney apparently have some distant relative in connection. What did you make of that story when it came?
You know, I actually knew about it because somebody had done some genealogy before, and they had sent it to me, this long sheet, and you know, had all these famous names, you know, Mark Twain and this and that and the other, and then Dick Cheney, and I took a pause.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, William Howard Taft, and President Barack Obama. One young girl traced them all back to one common ancestor.
They're all cousins and all grandsons of John Lackland.
It's the first family tree of its kind. Pouring through more than 500,000 names for months, 12-year-old Bridge Ann d'Avignon discovered that all the U.S. presidents, except Martin Van Buren, are related to the former King of England, John Lackland Plantagenet, signer of the Magna Carta in 1215.
Together you shall spread light to future generations.
She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man.
They also represent three very important elements. They are wisdom, strength, and beauty.
Because it was never forgotten by the sons of the serpent that when they went to Atlantis, the most responsive ones were the females, and they were more like the chosen ones. And it is from this era of the ancient world in the pre-Diluvian age that we have the cult of the priestess.
Marina Abramovich.
We have the rise of the great matriarchy.
Helena Blavatsky. Alice Bailey.
I bring it all together. I'm the beautiful one. I bring it all together beautifully.
I want to thank you to all the male feminists that came today. You guys are so important.
And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they showed.
It means so much to us, and the respect that you have for women, because, you know, we made y'all motherfuckers.
This is the Grand Temple of the United Grand Lodge of England, the oldest Grand Lodge in the world.
It must look really great when all the seats are full and that organ's playing. James, come here a minute. Look at this throne. I'd need crampons to get up on this. Surely all this implies that you need to be of high status to be a Mason.
Well, this is definitely a throne. It was built for the Prince Regent, later George IV, as the first Royal Grand Master.
This is a fully functional throne that was created for an actual man. It's not just a symbol or a prop.
There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Well, beauty should be admired in science and nature and great works of art and literature and music.
Music?
Taylor also posted this pic with a pregnant friend backstage and described herself as, quote, mother of snakes.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Do you believe in sin? When I say believe, I don't mean believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
To all of you at Planned Parenthood, for all the work that you are doing for women all across the country and for families all across the country and for men who have enough sense to realize you're helping them all across the country.
One issue that really grabbed me as urgent were issues related to population, reproductive health.
But did you come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood.
And His Royal Highness Prince Charles, who can trace his ancestry back to Romania's dark and distant past.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, so I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
As it were.
His father, Vlad II, was a member of a secret society known as the Order of the Dragon.
Vlad Sr. joined the knightly society known as the Order of the Dragon, and upon his induction, he was given the surname Dracul, which is a derivative of Drac, meaning dragon in ancient Romanian. However, in the modern Romanian language, this means devil. His son was given the name for son of Draco, that name being Dracula.
Sons of the Serpent.
There is an elitist group of people who definitely believe that regardless of the form and structure of your government and your country makes no difference to these people, and they are not tied to one country, they are everywhere, and they believe that they have been given the birthright, whatever, to rule over men.
Al-Faid's accusations, the British Dracula family, and Crocodile Wife. An older interview of Muhammad Al-Faid's father, Dadi Al-Faid, Lady Diana's lover, where he was openly accused of the British royal crown of assassinating his son and Lady Diana.
Mohammed Al-Fayed has had his long-awaited day in the witness box as he outlined his beliefs that Diana and Dodi were murdered by MI6 on the orders of Prince Philip. But not just Prince Philip. What about Prince Charles, he was asked. He participated in it, Mr. Al-Fayed said, and I am sure he knows what is going to happen, because he would like to get on and marry his Camilla. And this is what happened. They cleared the decks, they finished her, they murder her, and now he is happy. He married his crocodile wife. The royals he described as a Dracula family.
I would say China 5,000 years it goes back, right? Seems to be 5,000. Right? 5,000 at least. And I guess the oldest culture they say is Egypt at 8,000.
埃及更古老一些，但是呢，文化没有断过流的，始终传承下来的只有中国。
So this is your original form, very much. Yeah, it really is. 这就是原来的文化。
对，就我们这些人也是原来的人，黑头发、黄皮肤，传承下来的，我们叫龙的传人。
Red hair, yellow skin. We call ourselves the inheritance people going down from strength. But the Chinese civilization.
Human blood types are grouped into 4 distinct designations that include O, A, B, and AB. Additionally, there is another variance between blood types known as the Rh factor, or rhesus factor, which is a measure of rhesus-based antigens in the blood. 85% of humans in the world are Rh positive and have no issues receiving blood from positive or negative donors. But for the Rh negative population, receiving Rh positive blood may be fatal, as the body will try to destroy the foreign antigens. And for women that are Rh negative, mating with an Rh positive partner could be detrimental to the fetus.
Well, believe it or not, blood type matters for many reasons, some of which you probably don't even think about or even think would matter. So take a look at this.
Most people have a protein on their red blood cells called the rhesus factor. These people are Rh positive. But a small percentage of the global population is missing this protein, making them Rh negative. These two blood groups are incompatible. That means that if they mix, deadly reactions can occur. That's why it's dangerous when an Rh negative woman becomes pregnant with an Rh positive baby. If the baby's red blood cells get into the mother's bloodstream, her immune system will consider them foreign invaders and create antibodies to destroy them. These antibodies can also cross the placenta and attack the fetus, with terrible consequences like permanent brain damage and even death.
How on earth could this happen? It suggests somewhere in our lineage that the Rh negatives and the Rh positives are perceived as being profoundly different.
But it's really important for women because if a woman is negative, meaning she doesn't have certain antibodies in her blood type, and her partner is positive, this can have a lot of effects on the fetus. And basically what we see mainly, predominantly, is anemia. Basically it can attack the baby's blood.
And also, studies of Rh negatives suggest that they have lower than normal blood pressure, lower than normal pulse. In a number of cases, they have an extra vertebra in their back.
15% of the humans have Rh negative blood. 15%. And scientists have no idea where it came from. What they do believe is that if you have that, you may have been evolved from a different kind of species on this planet. Now, was that species put here, genetically altered, or was it just a natural formation of the planet in its evolutionary stage? Who knows? But the fact is that Rh negative people, and again, there's 15% of them on this planet, may have come from outside sources. A certain group of people on this earth do feel like that they have the right to rule over you. It makes no difference whether it's a monarchy, a republic, a democracy, or a outright dictatorship, or whatever. They feel like they have been given that right. And we call them the global elite. Now, there's a lot of information available about this, and I'm going to take you back to Margaret Sanger. But first I want to make a quote by Kevin Trudeau. This man is a billionaire. And this information's all over the web. And here's what he's supposed to have said. He stated that elitists he had talked to through their plans were for the greater good of humanity. They know what's best for you. But that they believed there were two classes of people on earth. Two classes, only two. The ruling elite and the worker bees. And that the elite were defined, now watch carefully, listen carefully. The elite were not defined necessarily by money or power, but by their genetic ancestry. Now we get into race, we get into the root race, we get into the issue. Their genetic ancestry. In plain words, they inherited this.
An assorted race of monstrous giants, among other humanoid entities. Many of these giants were not only over 15 feet tall, but had red or blonde hair and beards, elongated skulls, double rows of teeth, and 6 instead of 5 digits on their hands and feet.
The elitists who feel like that they have been given this mandate because of their birth. How many of you have ever heard of Margaret Sanger? All right. How many of you have ever heard of Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger, in her own words, just a few of the quotes of this woman. By the way, she's the one who started Planned Parenthood. She's the founder of Planned Parenthood. Here's what she said on black people, immigrants, and indigents. Quote, human weeds, reckless breeders, spawning human beings who never should have been born. On sterilization and racial purification. Sanger believed that for the purpose of racial purification, couples should be rewarded who chose sterilization. On the right of married couples to bear children, couples should be required to submit applications to have a child, she wrote in her Plan for Peace. Useless eaters, as Margaret Sanger called them, human weeds, reckless breeders, spawning human beings who never should have been born. That's a mighty big statement, isn't it? That's playing God. See what I mean? And any time a man or woman begins to play God, they're way out of their league. I don't care if they got an IQ of 170. I don't care if they're the smartest man on the face of the earth. They're out of their league. Well, one way that you could control the population of the world is through man-made plagues. Nobody knows where AIDS came from. Well, then you're saying that they have created a laboratory infectious disease for the purpose of wiping out certain segments of the population and other groups of people. Now, let's just think of the implications. If that's true, you are dealing with a monster, right? You are dealing with people who would wipe you from the face of the earth and not blink. And 50 million babies have fallen victim to abortion. 50 million babies have fallen victim to abortion. 50 million little faces, 50 million little hearts beating, 50 million little people, 50 million people have fallen victim to abortion. I want you to go around every once in a while and just think on that number for a while.
For by him, by Christ, all things were created, both in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. There we have our two worlds. The world that you can see visible, the world you cannot see invisible.
If you recently looked toward the top of the iTunes Christian music charts, you might have seen an album titled Preacher's Kid, which seems to fit right in with all the other music in the genre. But you'll also see something surprising, a parental advisory for explicit lyrics. And what you'll hear is a message about faith told through the voice of a queer artist named Semler. I spoke with the singer. They hope more LGBTQ representation in the genre will change hearts and minds. Semler Baldridge is quickly rising to the top of the Christian music scene, even spending a few days in the top spot on the iTunes Christian chart. The album Preacher's Kid is Semler's debut, a labor of love written entirely during the pandemic.
I would describe it as a quarantine baby. I had a bunch of thoughts. I wanted to get things out of my system, so it sounds kind of grungy. It's like acoustic grunge. In a God-honoring way, I guess.
It's not your typical Christian album. Semler's faith is explored with a lot of honesty and the occasional curse word.
I know many of the most Christ-like people have thrown down a holy F-bomb now and again.
Your album is called Preacher's Kid. Are you a preacher's kid?
I am indeed. My dad is an Episcopal priest. I grew up in the rectory. I played a lot of pranks around the church growing up. That was very much my upbringing.
Well, Dad was welcoming and accepting when Semler came out. Is this a wake-up call for the Christian music industry to say, hey, there is a desire, there is a thirst for music that maybe doesn't sound like what you typically hear?
Wow. Thank you so much. This is so lovely. Thank you so much.
A stylized face mask.
Thank you to the Academy. This is so lovely. We are so happy to present this show. Much love to the Actors Fund Nursing Home. My sister, my husband, Adam Porter Smith, Susie Deaton, Lenny Beer, Bill Butler, my Pose cast, everybody in my Pose cast, Ryan Murphy.
So we get these stereotypes, these caricatures.
Orange is the New Black, the Netflix series about life in a women's prison. The show is nominated for 12 Emmys, including one for Laverne Cox, the one and only. She plays a resident hairstylist, Sophia Brissett.
They reward behavior they want to see more of, incentivizing it.
Moonlight, Best Picture.
The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God.
I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like, when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. With certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, these brothers gotta wear a dress. Wear the dress. I don't want to wear the dress. I want to wear this dress.
Long considered the most haunted building in Tampa, the Tampa Theater.
I want to wear this dress. It really would be great. Wear the dress.
Actor Elliot Page has made history. Page is the first transgender man to appear on the cover of Time magazine. The actor announced he is transgender and identifies as non-binary back in December. He also sat down with the magazine for his first interview since that announcement. The Juno star said the pandemic gave him time to accept his gender identity and to fully become who he is.
The story everybody's talking about this morning, that big rebrand of Mr. Potato Head. The classic children's toy now has a gender-neutral name, and this morning, as you can imagine, the reaction is pouring in.
Good morning, Cecilia. Hasbro is joining a list of companies that are now rebranding products in an effort to be more inclusive.
Mr. and Mrs. You gotta keep them together because they're madly in love.
But sprouting up this fall, get ready for simply Potato Head, the Hasbro company rebranding with a gender-neutral name.
Return of pride flags as a presence at U.S. embassies. An internal State Department cable sent to U.S. missions says U.S. embassies can again allow for the LGBT plus flag to fly on flagpoles along with the Stars and Stripes.
Welcome to Hope United Methodist Church.
Hope Church in Bloomington is an inclusive church.
We wanted this to be a place for absolutely everyone.
It's a controversial topic, something the church is considering splitting over. But Isaac Simmons is breaking barriers within the Methodist Church.
Currently, the United Methodist Church says that a self-avowed practicing homosexual is incompatible with the teachings of Christ.
He's now on a path for leadership within the church.
They're saying this person is being called to ministry and has our approval to receive the United Methodist support.
He says he wasn't expecting the United Methodist Church's blessing.
It means so much to be seen and validated.
His beliefs bring him close to the religion.
Creating spaces where everyone, regardless of their identities, orientations, can be and can exist without question or without even an inkling of, am I welcomed here?
His discovery of Hope Church is more unique.
It happened at a drag show.
Now, drag is a passion, and Miss Pentecost is possibly the first drag queen certified in the United Methodist Church, too.
Expect to be pushed a little in your understanding of what church can be.
Penny says songs, sermons, and spirituality while wearing wigs and full makeup on Drag Sunday is a way to reclaim faith, too.
To be able to see yourself in a system that celebrates a divine allows you to see the divine in yourself.
Simmons says he wants other LGBTQ community members to know they're loved.
However you are in life, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you identify as, you are enough.
And says it's a privilege to be accepted and supported by the church.
Musical guest, Lil Nas X.
Well, hey!
Hi!
How are you?
Good. I'm so nervous, but how are you?
Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's daughter couldn't help but be a little starstruck when meeting one of her idols. Zaya Wade fanned out over Michelle Obama this week when the pair teamed up for a virtual chat about the former First Lady's best-selling memoir, Becoming. And the teen admitted she was nervous to realize such a long-standing dream of hers was coming true.
What's going on? Tell me, what's on your mind?
I'm just nervous, but really excited.
Don't be nervous.
It's like I'm meeting an idol. I'm literally meeting an idol. But just preparing for this moment for so long.
13-year-old Zaya asked Michelle what advice she has for young people who want to follow her example of pursuing their dreams with inspiring confidence. And Michelle confessed that she thinks Zaya is the one delivering an important message of empowerment.
I mean, I am just so proud of you, being just an amazing role model and embracing your truth.
Being just an amazing role model and embracing your truth.
Okay, Daddy, Dr. Elmo says you're healthy.
Oh, well, thank you. Our children and families want us to be healthy. That's why I and lots of other grown-ups got the COVID-19 vaccine, so we can stay healthy and get back to the moments we miss, like seeing our friends and family.
Here you go, Daddy.
Oh, thanks, son.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getvaccineanswers.org.
But what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed, and particularly also people in the gray economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
The annual purge will conclude in 3, 2, 1.
The Forever Purge nicely separates itself from the metropolis mayhem of the previous films while also giving us a possible ending to the franchise. The latest installment unleashes sheer chaos, dropping us into a complete point of no return that feels both natural to the series' evolution and exciting for fans who have been following this dystopian political horror saga for the past decade.
The purge is over, please!
No, it ain't. Whereas the previous films and TV show have been set in urban settings and suburbs, the Forever Purge takes us into a sun-baked Texas border town for a look at what purge violence might be like for those not living in labyrinthine cities. But there's a catch. This purge is unlike the rest. The new founding fathers of America are back in business after what seemed like the happy ending of the purge election year. Things get way uglier in the Forever Purge and way more reflective of our current socio-political climate, in a manner that almost feels like the Purge movies are now running neck and neck with us and not merely playing the what-if game.
It was a deadly weekend of gun violence as America celebrated its independence. In Ohio, a mass shooting during a 4th of July block party left a 17-year-old dead and 11 others injured. In Chicago, 100 people, including 2 police officers, were shot. 18 people were killed and at least a dozen children injured. A 1-month-old baby is in critical condition at a local hospital after being shot in the head on Friday.
After a year of nearly nonstop violence, unrest, surging crime, homelessness, filth.
We begin, though, with the string of gun violence across the country this weekend. Between Friday and Sunday, at least 10 cities reported mass shootings. Those are shootings with 4 or more victims.
An armed man targets a woman, yanking her by the hair. It happened right in front of her own home and in broad daylight.
That's right. Tonight, police are looking for 2 men who stole the woman's car.
Terrifying moments for a downtown Las Vegas homeowner who posted this video on social media showing the suspect making threats. The homeowner, who we won't be identifying, posted this on social media and asked her followers to share the video widely so people could be aware that the man is out there. At first, you can see the man just not making much sense, repeating himself.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple of questions for you.
Afterwards, the man escalated things, he was saying, eventually threatening to rape and kill the person inside.
What I'm looking for is for the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to rape her and kill her. Do you have her open the door? I'm going to rape and kill the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in. I want to rape her and kill her because I have a knife and a gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again.
The post left the neighborhood and people all over the valley shaken. That man has since been arrested.
A new type of terror has gripped the Mexican border city of Reynosa across from McAllen, Texas. What is different this time is all the victims appeared to have no connection to the drug trade. As one official said, they were innocent victims rather than members of a rival gang. The gunman killed 14 people, including taxi drivers, workers, and a nursing student. Many locals are afraid.
Clashes have erupted between French riot police and anti-vaccination protesters in the capital, Paris.
in the middle of summertime. So people are just angry, and the result is this kind of social explosion.
So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Deadly week-long protests in South Africa have led to widespread damage across the country. The demonstrations come after former President Jacob Zuma was jailed.
There's a lot of pent-up anger in South Africa right now, fueled by politics, poverty, and the pandemic. This morning, America's most important ally in Africa, rocked by historic, sweeping, and dangerous protests, fires, and looting.
Tanzania's President John Magufuli has dismissed the benefits of vaccines and said no lockdown is planned in his country, as God will protect the people from COVID-19.
Thank you for the good job.
The last time John Pombe Magufuli was seen in public, he was carrying out official duties and not wearing a mask. Not long into his second term in office, he suddenly vanished from public sight. After 3 weeks of speculation came the announcement from Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan on state television.
We lost our leader, President of the Republic of Tanzania, the Honourable Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, who parted this life from heart complications in hospital in Dar es Salaam.
Weeks into the pandemic, President Jovenel Moïse says, some decisions we made early. We decided to completely shut down the country for 4 months. But scientists say even that doesn't explain Haiti's stunningly low COVID-19 death rates. 263, and just over 13,000 confirmed cases to date. Less than 2,000 hospitalizations, and more than 12,000 have recovered from COVID. Meanwhile, on stops in small towns, the president, who is wearing a mask, is a magnet for big crowds, standing side by side, gathering with no protection from COVID. Tonight, the nation of Haiti is reeling after the assassination of its president inside his home. Haiti's first lady was wounded in the overnight attack, but survived. Here is CBS's Ben Tracy.
The attackers, seen here approaching the president's residence in trucks, apparently pretended to be agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration in order to get past security guards. The gunman broke into the home of Haiti's president early this morning. Then shots are fired. They assassinated the 53-year-old Haitian leader, Jovenel Moïse, and also shot his wife, Martine. She survived and was brought to a Miami hospital for treatment. Haiti's interim prime minister, Claude Joseph, called the attack a coup and said the gunmen were speaking English and Spanish.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
In the midst of this carnival of commercial confusion, an old religion was reborn. Do what thou wilt.
In the last days, evil, lawlessness shall prevail. Hostage.
Many decent people were too distracted to realize they were being initiated into a cult of degeneracy and self-destruction.
In these the last days,
the demon god Bacchus was known to cross boundaries between the mortal and divine.
We hear some strange, eerie moaning sound coming from the side of the theater.
Hollywood has a secret history. A dark past filled with secret societies.
Nobody really knew quite what it was, and we all saw exactly the same thing.
Blood-curdling occult rituals and treaties with unseen forces.
Dionysus,
a figure floating. It wasn't clear as to what we were looking at, but we knew that there was a figure back there.
The spirit of deception is running rampant. The demon behind the painted face.
Everybody was kind of like frozen.
A masquerade of unholy alliances.
Many of the thoughts going through the minds of your average American are not their own. They were planted there. They are actually the products of a multi-billion-dollar Luciferian industry. This industry disseminates the do-without-will philosophy on an industrial scale.
As the Greek drama had grown out of the dithyrambic choruses at the festivals of Dionysus, he was also regarded as a god of tragic art and as the protector of theaters.
The Fox Theater in Taft is supposedly notorious for being haunted.
Long considered the most haunted building in Tampa, the Tampa Theater is...
Ghost hunters are investigating some local historic sites to see if there are any permanent visitors in the place.
Yeah, they're on the lookout for spooky activity at the Redford Theater on Lossard near Grand River.
The ghost story is already haunting one performing arts venue in Austin.
We want to take you to the third oldest building in Knoxville and what some say may possibly be the most haunted here in our city. Sit down, relax if you can, as we take you inside the Bijou Theater.
He was a frightening and violent god with a variety of attributes that were both terrifying and wonderful, always the twin image of the twice-born. He was the bringer of madness, but he was also a bull god, a god of fertility, to do with sensuality and sexuality. He was anarchic and revolutionary. He was the god of masquerade. The god of masquerade. He was the god of masquerade, which means seeing things literally other than they are. But importantly for our history, he was the god of possession. Dionysus was able to reveal himself directly to the individual. His worshippers were possessed by him, and perhaps now we begin to see why Dionysus, this god of masquerade and possession, became the god of the theatre. Because in the early theatre, the actor believed himself to be possessed by the part he was playing. From our scant knowledge, we know the actor was masked and wore a long robe.
Ever since the first director yelled, "Roll 'em," the heartbeat of Hollywood has come from its movie studios. This is where dreams were made, where actors were immortalized as movie stars, and others waited for a starring role that never came. It is not surprising that one of the oldest studios in Hollywood is also the most haunted.
All the studios in Hollywood are haunted, there's no question. Every studio from Warner Brothers to Paramount to MGM Studios, which is now Sony Studios, and many others. And of course that leads me to the stories of many of the ghosts that, of course, still inhabit these studios.
Tyler Perry has created his own studio.
His own studio.
On 330 acres just outside of Atlanta.
Absolutely.
The grand opening of the Tyler Perry Studios. Spike Lee and a whole bunch of people were there to celebrate.
I wanted it to be something iconic.
Well, that's basically Beyoncé's middle name. The 38-year-old Formation singer made a surprise appearance at the Tyler Perry Studios grand opening gala on Saturday.
Oprah, Beyonce, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, all walked the red carpet this weekend attending the star-studded grand opening.
Did you also say the Clintons were there? Did you say that?
Clintons were there.
Hillary?
The future is female.
It was a big weekend for Tyler Perry.
I admire Margaret Sanger.
Grand opening of his brand new movie studios.
Are you saying that a child on its due date, just hours before delivery, still has no constitutional rights?
Under our law, that is the case. It's very clear that for women of color, Planned Parenthood is the go-to place.
For the Greeks, the city Dionysia was much more than just an extended drinking binge. Festival goers cross-dressed and danced and sang in ritual processions until the celebrations climaxed in a grand, dramatic competition here at the Theatre of Dionysus.
This is history. This is great to have a studio here. Used to be Confederate fort military base.
But before Perry brought Hollywood to Atlanta, this was once Fort McPherson military base, a Confederate stronghold.
Within a few years, thousands of Klan members from all over America were marching through Washington, D.C.
A satanic secret society called the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan's Masonic origins. It was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee in 1866 by 6 Confederate officers. One of them, and the first imperial wizard of the KKK, was a former Confederate general and Freemason, Nathan Bedford Forrest. Albert Pike held the office of Chief Justice of the KKK while he was simultaneously Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Albert Pike worships the devil. He was a wicked person.
Albert Pike served as a brigadier general in the Confederate Army. Following the war, Pike was jailed for treason. He was quickly pardoned by a fellow Freemason, President Andrew Johnson. Among eventually becoming a 33-degree Mason and a top leader of the Ku Klux Klan, Pike was also believed to be a Luciferian. He claimed he was able to summon Lucifer at will as the Grand Master of the Order of the Palladium. Palladism, or traditional Satanism, an ancient Luciferian cult, was then introduced to the inner circle of the Masonic lodges. This influence has flourished into modern-day Freemasonry in the super rites of the upper degrees. Industry, entertainment, the CIA, Congress, and our military leaders are inundated with Freemasonic Palladism, or a Luciferian New World Order.
In the same year the Birth of a Nation was first released, a new leader rose to head the Klan. William Joseph Simmons, in this rare newsreel film, leads his followers up Stone Mountain in Georgia for the first initiation ceremony of the reincarnated Klan. Simmons added something new to the Klan uniform, a stylized face mask, which he alone could wear. He also insisted the Klan operate in total secrecy. The Klan's sinister power grew as new recruits joined.
This film made massive profits at the box office, which bankrolled the construction of the Hollywood film industry. So the financial currency was now in place to create the mystical projections which would illuminate the new theaters of Dionysus. But powerful magic requires more than just economic resources. It demands spiritual currency, and there's only one currency universally accepted by demons and fallen angels worldwide, and that's blood.
The temples and statues of Dionysus were very numerous in the ancient world. Among the sacrifices which were offered to him in the earliest times, human sacrifices are also mentioned.
Hooray for Hollywood! You may be homely in your neighborhood.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is exciting. This is exciting. I am a fan of our next guest because you know her from Creed, Avengers, Endgame, and Westworld. Please welcome Tessa Thompson.
This film, Little Woods, that I have coming out this year is really exciting to me. It talks about the access to reproductive health in this country. And Planned Parenthood was so kind in helping us sort of do that research. And it started with this idea the writer-director Nia DaCosta of looking at the country.
So for my donation, I get a water bottle and a Frisbee. That is awesome. Go Hillary! Yeah, I know. Thank you. How about, while that's cooking, you and I just take 15 minutes and hop on a Planned Parenthood phone bank and make them some money?
Terminating my pregnancy was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, but I still feel like it was the right decision for me. I went out on faith and I took a step with my own 2 feet to do something for myself instead of focusing on the needs of everyone else. I feel strong, I feel empowered, and I know that in the future I will make the right decisions for me and my daughter, no matter what life might throw at me.
I'm Margaret Singer.
Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Hello.
In the mid-1920s, Margaret Sanger spoke to a group that came to hear her in full regalia.
Eugenics means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society, and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization. The most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it.
Protests around the country today, including right here in San Diego. People are angry about what they say the government is trying to control with what women can do with their own bodies.
They gathered outside the federal courthouse, chanting, singing. You've been messing where you shouldn't be messing. United, they say, in their fight to keep their reproductive rights.
In Delray Beach, it was moms and kids in the street having their say. The same in Fort Lauderdale.
I'm here because my rights matter, my body, it's my choice to choose what I want to do with it. No one else can make that choice for me.
By Sanger's time, techniques of racial elimination like lynching had become taboo within the Democratic Party. And so Sanger pioneered a different approach to bring about a similar result. How would you describe Margaret Sanger's so-called Negro Project?
The Negro Project was to bring these birth control and other eugenic measures into the black community.
When Governor Brian Kemp signed the bill banning abortions after 6 weeks, Hollywood pushed back. Many major studios and networks said they may leave if the bill becomes law in January.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. I am really in awe of her. And there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her life and from the cause she launched and fought for and sacrificed so greatly.
It's very clear that for women of color, Planned Parenthood is the go-to place.
It could be the world's tallest moving statue ever, towering above us and above its predecessors. It can also bring mega tourist dollars and support the local economy. On this side of the pond, a group of entrepreneurs are trying to fund an ambitious project to do just that. It's part statue, part business, part museum, part foundation, part gathering place, all somehow in one experience.
Architect of UAE Tower of Babel and Trump Tower, tagged to build Jerusalem's tallest building. Pretty interesting. Spirals up from the base, like the ancient Tower of Babel. And here's a rendition of the Tower of Babel itself. And here's the spiral minaret of the Great Mosque of Samarra that they showed. Looks just like the Tower of Babel, except they have completed the top.